Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk to you about my predictions for the week of February 25th, so February 25th through March 1st, and those are going to be based on the astrological transits and also on basically what I have seen in the past that would occur under similar transits. And as well as I'm looking at the chart of the US and China to see if there are any important events that may be occurring that potentially may affect things like stock market and or just looking for any geopolitical events and or important of note weather or some sort of accidents that possibly may occur. So before I begin my predictions, I just want to do a quick recap of the prior week, and that was the week of February 18th. So since I already had posted predictions last Monday and covered some of them on Monday, I'm not going to repeat myself, so I'm going to start with Tuesday, February 19th, and February 18th was a day where the stock market in the US was closed anyway. So as far as just the predictions of the up and down market moves, I was correct that the Tuesday was going to be an update. Then Wednesday, Thursday predictions were incorrect. That said, I wasn't really giving a very high probability in the first place. It was 55% one day, 55 to 60% on the other day as far as what I thought, the reliability of the predictions might be, simply because the aspects weren't really very strong. Now on Friday, the 22nd, I did actually think was fairly certain, 60 to 65%, that market was going to go down due to some stressful aspects, which actually went up. Now I do want to note that what I have seen in the past is that when the aspects are strong, meaning there's some intense transits, that yes, sometimes the direction may be off, but the actual size of the move is often significant. Now there's usually 1-2 days plus or minus, but I personally am trying to fine-tune sort of my predictions to really get at it with the precision, with the 24 hours, I guess, precision of as much as possible. But, it's still a work in progress, I suppose. So as far as the just events to note, I already have mentioned predictions for last week as far as like increased probability of accidents, especially related to airspace, electric cars in general, engines and things of that nature. As I said in my last week's predictions, there was this really big NASCAR crash, but then I also saw later this week, last week rather, that there was this announcement about, I guess, of the planes crashing in the in Indian air show of some sort. Yeah, 2 jets from the Indian Air Force acrobatics team collided mid-air. So that's very sad. I believe somebody died there. So things of that nature. So we had that. Then another prediction, again from Monday, the 18th, was that there will be increased focus on like Saturnian things, so mining, metals, and indeed there was copper went up significantly or notably that day. Then other predictions had to do with increased news about things related to radiation or uranium ore, and something that I wouldn't expect. I was thinking it would be more along the lines of maybe increased of the price or sales increase or something like that. But I did see there was a news article that in the Grand Canyon Museum, apparently a whistleblower said that they used to store like 3 barrels or something like that of the uranium ore with the radiation up to 4,000 times safe levels at their Grand Canyon National Park Museum. And yeah, 3 large drums. So they were storing it apparently for 18 years, and since then it has been removed. But indeed, it was, again, an unexpected piece of news related to uranium ore specifically, and that's something, again, I specifically mentioned that I was expecting to have in the news. Let's see. There was also another prediction that I made for last week about the increased sales of some drug, probably related to addictive substances, vaccines, poisons, or anesthesia, especially for young people. I didn't see anything about, again, increased sales. Again, I'm not necessarily following it that closely just because I don't have necessarily time to be, perusing it to that level of detail. But I did see news, just looking at headlines, that there was a discovery by Australian scientists, again specifically related to vaccines, that they figured out that if you were to harvest and replicate the killer T cells, then those immune cells can be used to basically create a vaccine that would fight all known flu viruses and mutations. So there was, again, very specific news related to vaccines. There was another, again, headline, I didn't actually read the article, something about the DARPA developing mind control tech for US soldiers. You know, conspiracy theory, the real thing, I don't know, but just thinking about it in terms of astrology, it is related to Neptune again. Anything, I was saying in my predictions, like chemicals that alter your state of mind. Again, I'm not sure if this will be chemicals, you know, AI, you know, some sort of a chip, who knows, and personally I don't care, but the bottom line is that it is related to sort of like telepathy. All of these kind of topics are basically related to Neptune. So news of like that relate to Neptune were indeed a lot. We had a lot of those news and types of news. So, you know, actors, musicians were featured a lot. Some sort of stories about lying, deception, you know, vaccines, things of that nature. So let's see. Then another prediction that I made was that specifically for Friday, the 22nd of February, that there will be news about some criminals being caught that would be involved in illegal smuggling of either drugs or people over the border. And again, like I said, I didn't see those news specifically, and there may be there, I just am not necessarily aware of that. But a big kind of a feature in news on Friday was that New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft is now facing charges for soliciting prostitution as a part of the large-scale sex trafficking crackdown that led to hundreds of arrest warrants in Florida. So while obviously this person was featured in the news just because he's a famous person, I actually think that this prediction does fit them, rather the event fits the prediction, because again we had news about this big, I guess, sex trafficking, large-scale sex trafficking crackdown that again the news about it came up on Friday as predicted. So next, let's move on to my predictions for this week of February 25th. Hi, and now let's talk about the predictions for this week, the week of February 25th. First, let's go over the global predictions for the week. And first is the standing prediction for Ruth Bader Ginsburg that she may potentially leave office in February 19 and February 2019. And if not, then May and June of this year also look fairly as difficult times for her. So that would be the next time that she potentially may leave. Then for the US specifically, the week of, or rather weeks of February 17th or March 5th look like weeks where there may be increased probability of increased, I guess, focus on military activities, military leaders, weapons, aggressive moves, or risky moves of any sort, which includes the volatility in the stock market, as well as increased kind of news about athletes and sports in general, again, in terms of risk, aggressive moves, or legal issues. And there may also be other legal battles of all sorts, including immigration, and especially related to military, either military staff or activities and or sports or athletes. Then also another prediction, again specific to the US, covers the February 22nd through March 17th, and it will be especially felt on the week of March 4th, which will be the next week, and that covers increased focus on oil, chemicals, navy, pharmaceuticals, drugs, poisons, as well as movies, videos, religion, and any sort of lies and deceptions. So all of those may be prominent in the news. And in particular, we may hear about new projects or businesses in those areas. They may be expanding to locations overseas, or vice versa. They may be contracting, and that those activities may be imbalanced, where again, maybe too much products are shipped in one location and there's a shortage in another, or things may be expanding with the expectation that things will go well, and then things may not necessarily justify this move, and in the future such a business may need to pull back. So for the specific predictions for this week, I see that most of the week will most likely have a market going up, with the exception of maybe Friday, March 1st, there is a slight possibility of it going down. So let's break it down. So February 25th, I feel like there's going to be a fairly decent 60 to 65% probability of market going up. There might be increased news about the financials of all sorts, banks, financial institutions, currencies, rates, forex, as well as assets such as, real estates, as well as there may be focus on homeland security, food security, as well as sweets, sugar, jewelry, precious stone, maybe women meaning women who are leaders in business or politicians. So there may be public announcements of all sorts, or announcements made at a public event, or announcements that affect large numbers of people. So some sort of a major decision, and the announcement may not be very popular because it may be perceived, or the entity or the announcement itself may be perceived as being too rigid, imposing too many restrictions, not being sensitive enough sort of to the needs of the population, and or just maybe limiting something to where it could be limiting the safety limits or standards, or reducing rather those standards, maybe limiting the amount of money that people can save or withdraw for some through either limiting literally the amounts, or kind of making it more difficult to save, for example. Or the person may be seen, if it's a person, may be seen as not really being competent in the matters that have to do with, say, homeland security, or protecting individuals, or protecting food supply. And there may also be issues come up about either safety of women and children that travel overseas that are US citizens, or of immigrants to the US, again with focus on women and children and their safety. Also on the 25th of February, Monday, there may be increased news about communication and transportation companies, and any events kind of related to those companies, and those will be focused on the domestic market. And so we're talking about cars, car manufacturers, social media platforms, news companies, airplane manufacturers, etc. And as well as there may be increased news about agreements, negotiations, contracts, and retail sales. And so the news will likely be positive, such that the negotiations are proceeding well, the shipments are going on smoothly, that the products are delivered, that the flights, there are fewer delays than usual, etc. So things are kind of moving smoothly. At the same time, if there's an expectation of arriving to a particular conclusion, such that the agreement has to arrive, and be signed, that is actually less likely to happen on Monday, because the aspect is supportive of things kind of continuing, as opposed to having a pressure applied for the resolution to be met. Similarly, if there's a negative manifestation, such as that, for example, a company is making layoffs, the extent of those may be greater, kind of the usual, meaning more people may be laid off than one would expect, because again, there is no sort of a easy stop to those events. Let's see, then also on the 25th, again Monday, I guess is a busy news day for the US, there may be increased focus in the news related to military, weapons, sports, racing, fighting, as in sports fighting, firefighting, etc. And they may involve either a leader that either is a male or a sort of a tough woman, and the news may involve that person being too aggressive, doing something risky, maybe making some sort of comment on social media that kind of puts off their fans, or maybe acting too aggressively and they injure themselves or the opponent, or maybe it's a large investor who's making a really big aggressive move in the stock market. Then also for the US, 25th through 27th of February, especially the 27th, there is increased, again, focus on banks, financial institutions, rates, loans, taxes, as well as secrets, spying, hacking, and women. So if, for example, we have news about, say, earnings, the earnings may come from either secret sources or from, say, tax evasion, and not necessarily something illegal, but something where it comes through these hidden means, where it's not clear where things come from, or where the expenses maybe are. So like there was an expense on the sheets, but it's not clear what exactly the expense was on, or literally maybe there's a hacking and we hear about some secret, expenses or secret earnings, and or there's again increased focus on taxes, rates, loans, etc. And there may also be increased news about kind of healthcare, drugs, chemicals, oil, recycling, nuclear power, or some unsavory activities that are involve some manipulation or something that's really unsightly and something that businesses or individuals would want to keep secret, and those things may either come up or somehow may come up in relation to with earnings. Again, either earnings come from that and this is revealed, or their earnings and it's not clear where those earnings are from, but it is suspect that those earnings come from these kind of dark hidden areas. And finally, there may be news about the power play involving money, meaning that some institution is pressured to reveal its secret, or hidden or unclear source of income, and or they may be asked to pay taxes on the earnings that they tried to hide. On Tuesday, I believe there is a slight possibility that the market will be up, but again, it's only 55%, so slight positive influence there. On Wednesday, February 27th, I believe there's a 60 to 65% probability that the market will go up. And as mentioned in my blog at tolstunka.com, there's this weekly predictions again, and I just mentioned, I guess, this earlier on the blog as well, in the video blog, that there may be increased focus in general this week, but particularly on Wednesday, on oil, chemicals, gas, navy, poisons, excessively wet weather, floods, water erosion, healthcare, religion, movies, music, video, etc., religion. And on Wednesday, there's a greater probability of the entire week that some decision or some clarification may be made regarding that. So for example, if there's some unclear situation or somebody's accused of lies and deception, on Wednesday, the 27th of February, is the most likely day where something may come up that's clarified and that confusion is removed, or some clarity is set, and or if there's maybe also a decision made about securing something like assets or border or international resources that involve oil or chemicals or shipments. So maybe decision is made about how to secure maybe a safe way, passage through some body of water, or how to secure borders that involve a body of water, meaning some sort of a cross over the river, or some border that's on the ocean, for example, or along the ocean. And there also may be, again, issues of safety of immigrant women and children, and again, the focus of that may be on Wednesday, increased focus of it maybe on the Wednesday of the entire week. Then on Thursday, there's again a 55% chance of the market going up, and on February 28th through March 1st, I think there will be, globally, there will be an increased kind of probability of positive news related to airspace, telecoms, IT, electric cars, electronics of all sorts, high-tech, electric gadgets, things like smartphones, electric cars, batteries, and things of that nature. And the news may be along the lines of there's a new device that is maybe expensive, but it's valuable enough because maybe it offers that many more great features, or its design is really cool, or maybe it's a phone that's encrusted in some fancy jewels and therefore it's really expensive. And or again, there may be new invention and a new airplane or something that's again high-tech and is very kind of, I guess, expensive potentially, but it is okay because it is going to be seen as valuable and worthy because again of the features that it offers, the innovation that it offers. And similarly, companies that may come up with those products or announce such things, their value may also go up. And there also may be a decision, and again, whatever those products may be, or those companies, and even the areas in general, there may be receiving additional support from the government and or from some large corporate players. So there may be some governmental contracts or are granted, or there's additional funding secured, or investments made again in the area, like I said, high-tech, electronics, electric cars, airspace, IT, etc. And there may also be increased news about Forex, and particularly Euro USD, and I believe that USD may go up comparatively to Euro slightly. So on March 1st, the Friday, I believe that's the only day of the week that there's a probability of the market going down. Probability is fairly low, 55% again, mostly because there are no super major aspects this week except maybe Monday and maybe Wednesday slightly. And then the following week, just something I wanted to mention, my weekly preview, or rather the preview sort of glance ahead, is that Friday, the 5th and the 6th of March, Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week, might actually see really major stock market moves, most likely, an up followed by a down, or it could be a V-shaped sort of a move where Monday the 4th will most likely be an up, then possibly followed by a down on Tuesday and up on Wednesday. Or it could be, the 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, could be up, then down on Wednesday and up on Thursday. So either really big moves and most likely a reversal and or a V-shaped sort of move, again, a drop followed by a sharp rise. And the reason for that may be that there may be some news about negotiations or announcement about, say, a drug or of some sort, or that the negotiations about to reach its end, or the contract is about to be signed on one day, most likely the 5th of March. But then the following day, things may be reversed, so that maybe additional news come up that say this drug wasn't quite approved, that there additional reports are necessary, or additional details have come up in some case, and now the case needs to be evaluated, or the agreement that was about to be signed actually is not ready and it needs to be, again, reevaluated, and things need to kind of take another turn. So that's why I believe there may be this kind of a hype and things going up, and then some sort of reversal or pause, and then the market would go down on those news. Regardless of the direction, again, 5th and 6th of March, I would look out for those dates as kind of, I would expect they will see greater market news. There may also be news as far as weather is concerned about really wet weather, flooding, snowstorms, again, too much weather of any sort, and news in general about oil, gas, navy, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, movies, videos, deception, religion, secret behaviors and things of that nature. So along those lines, there may be announcements also of corporations, say, acquiring some other companies, again, in that area, chemicals, for example, or pharmaceuticals, or there being a merge, and or, again, a clarification of some sort of issue. Maybe it wasn't clear whether some drug, for example, is, having some side effects or not, and then it's clarified. Or whether or not the chemical or some, sanctions that involve, say, oil are or are not being applied, and then it is kind of made clear on the 5th, 6th of March, most likely, I guess, the 5th. So things of that nature, and I think that would be interesting for us all to kind of keep track of that, and for me personally. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of a set of news from me, or not news necessarily, but rather predictions for next week, and continue coming back, watch my videos, and visit my blog at plastunka.com. So thanks everyone for watching, and I see you next time.